Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is Nothing But Bangers, aka MBB, aka Bangers, back with a Pokemon Pocket video. And due to popular request, I'm going to be highlighting some budget decks for some of the next few videos, and then I'll mix in some of the meta decks. Like, for example, probably the next deck that I'm going to be talking about is a little bit of a Gardevoir Mewtwo deck, and it's pretty basic, but I think it's one of the most consistent decks out there. And, you pretty much know what you're going to get almost every game. And again, if you want to see some different decks, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy this content, definitely subscribe, come back to the channel, because I'm going to be putting out more content like today's video. So this is going to be based around Dugtrio and Primeape. Basically, Dugtrio has a coin flip because, again, it wouldn't be Pokemon if we didn't have some sort of coin flip in here. But basically, this is going to be a 70 HP Stage 1 Pokemon that attacks for 1 fighting energy. And Dig is very interesting, very cool, has a lot of unique abilities in the sense that it can dodge a lot. But if you flip heads, during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage from and effects of attacks done to this Pokemon. So, for example, if they try to put your Pokemon to sleep, it doesn't work. If they try to deal damage to your Dugtrio, it doesn't work. Now, if they Sabrina your Dugtrio out of the active spot, then that's going to mean that basically they can do damage again. Okay? But this is really cool because even in the case that, let's just say that your opponent has Bulbasaur and they evolve it to Ivysaur, it doesn't matter that they evolved, they still can't do damage to Dugtrio if you flipped heads. Now, this is really important because if you were to put that Bulbasaur to sleep and they evolve it to Ivysaur, it wakes up. No coin flip involved. Because whenever you evolve, it removes status conditions. So this is going to be doing 40 damage, and it's going to be weak to grass. So one of these Pokemon is going to be weak to grass, and then when you look at Primeape, it's going to be weak to Psychic. So a little bit of split weaknesses, even though they're both fighting type, because remember, one's fighting, one's ground, basically. But one of the things that I would really point out is that the low HP on Dugtrio will play a factor, so you kind of have to watch that. With Primeape, this is probably you don't mind games, you prefer games that you start with Mankey in your active, and the reason for that is you want to absorb 10 damage, 20 damage early game. Now, as people see this deck and as people start playing against it and getting better at the game, they're probably going to stop attacking your basic Mankey. That's probably what's going to happen. Okay, but basically Primeape, 90 HP for 2 fighting energy. If this Pokemon has damage on it, deals 60 more damage. So this is potentially 100 damage for 2 energy. And if your opponent is has a electric type, which is really popular with Pikachu, right? Or it's a normal type, which is popular with a lot of people splashing normal types in their deck, then this can do as much as 120 damage, and with Giovanni, 130 damage. So that's really, really important. I mean, we're talking about being able to 2-shot Pokemon EXs. And if you take a look at Pikachu, which shout out to Cerebi. Okay, shout out to Cerebi for putting these cards out there. By the way, I'll leave the link in the description so you can check this out. This one-shots Pikachu in some scenarios. Primeape does. Okay, which is huge because you're going to see a lot of Pikachu EX. So, again, this is just one of those budget decks. I think, it has a little bit of play. One thing that I can tell you that it's missing, actually 2 things. Dugtrio needs more HP. That would make it so much better. And it needs a basic Pokemon that's fighting that can deal more than 40 damage, man. It needs, if they had a basic fighting type that could do 90 or more damage for, even for it stinks 3 energy is a lot. But for 3 energy, it would probably go in this deck. And again, one of the big positives of this deck is the low energy cost for these attacks. You're attacking for 2 energy and 1 energy, and those are your attackers. Okay, so that's actually really beneficial. A lot of the time you should be able to attack pretty early in the game. And if you're not attacking early in the game, then you're probably you probably already evolved Primeape. And so Primeape should be able to get in and start doing some damage, by your turn 3. Okay, so that's the deck. Now we're going to get into some games where I get to show you how it plays. All right, so let's go into some games here. And you're going to see a variety of different games here, and I'm going to try to talk over them and give you an idea of what's going on in the game, some of the reasons why I play the cards the way that I do, so you have an idea how to play this game with this deck. Now, as you can see, starting off with one basic, I'm going to go ahead and research here to try to go ahead and get into some of the other cards in my engine. But I've got Diglett in my active and Diglett on my bench. No energy attached. But going up what appears to be a fire deck. Let me make sure that this doesn't mess with the screen. Okay, it does if I full screen it. So let me not do that. But basically, this is going up against Cinescorch, his basic. I don't know the name off the top of my head. Something Silipede or something like that. But here we go. So Pokeballs for my Mankey, because that's the only other basic left in my deck. Just attaching a fighting energy, evolving into Dugtrio. So I'm going to get in for 40 damage. You'll notice no supporter usage for me. And I try to hold my Giovannis until I know that I'm going to need to two-shot Pokemon for sure. Or I know that it's a KO. And that will leave you a little bit susceptible to getting red carded. But to be real honest, if they're red carding your 4 cards, I don't think that a lot of the time you should mind that. I think it just kind of is what it is. Now, some of these games, you're going to see EX Pokemon pop up. Let's see how this game looks. So they're going to Sabrina. Looking at my board, I don't mind sending out Mankey to try and get some early damage on it. Because, again, I know what my Primeape does. And I'm like, hey, if they put 20 damage on this, then that basically puts my Primeape able to, eventually just get in with a one-shot. But again, it's going to cost 2 energy for Primeape, so I'm going to have to build up that Mankey. Now, one big thing here to point out is that I believe in attaching an energy to a Pokemon that puts you 1 energy away. So what does that mean? So in this case, you'll notice I attached to Primeape. I did not attach to Diglett on the bench. And it should be pretty obvious to most of you, like, duh, so you can attack, with Primeape. But let's just say that, you're trying to figure out where to attach energy. If I already had an energy on Primeape and I wasn't, attacking, I would put it on Diglett. So that way, when the next turn comes, no matter what, I can attack with either Pokemon. I can pivot to either Pokemon. So Dugtrio getting in there, going for a dig. Looks like I'm going to be able to play another Dugtrio on my bench. And you'll notice right here, here's what I was just talking about. I'm just going to retreat. Actually, yeah, I'm going to put the energy on Dugtrio. And you'll notice I'm doing that. And it's a little bit of a question of, well, why aren't you putting it on the Primeape? Because I'm not attacking with it this turn. But next turn, no matter what happens here, I can attack with any 3 of my Pokemon. That's because my energy attached is going to go on the Primeape. So again, I believe in kind of spreading out your energy when it makes sense and when you're one energy away. And here my opponent is going to potion and think that they're in pretty safe range, right? They're at 110. But little do they know, Giovanni is now in range and Primeape is going to come in and take care of business. So I'm going to retreat here, go into Primeape, drop that Giovanni, and that's going to be crushing because, again, they have 3 energy on that Cinescorch, and this is going to basically put them out of the game. There's pretty much no chance that they have of winning this game because that Charmander on the bench is going to evolve to a Charmeleon best case, and it's not going to have 100 HP or more than 100 HP, so I'm going to be able to get the knockout again. So this game, for all intents and purposes, is over. So starting off kind of showing how the deck, works, and again, this wasn't a crazy matchup that was super difficult. The only thing that could have made this matchup a lot harder is if they opened Moltres, for example. Moltres EX, right? But with, just budget kind of cards here, the way it looks on their side and my side, very easy, pretty much easy win here with the Diglett and Primeape deck. I don't know. Do you call this Prime Trio? Is that what we're calling this deck? Prime Trio? I don't know. What should we name this deck? Every deck's got to have a name, right? All right, so there's a little bit of the end screen and the way I I'm going to go ahead and do all these games, I always go ahead and, I thank them and then I send them a friend request, just trying to send the good vibes out there. Some people might see the thanks as a little bit of BM, but, I that's not where it's coming from. Not for me anyways. So let's go into the next game. So here we go. Looks like I'm going second. And I'm starting with Mankey, so I'm pretty happy about that because if I get, the chance to evolve, hopefully by then I've got some damage on it, and I should be able to attack by the time my turn 2 rolls around. So I get red carded here, and again, like I'm not too upset about that. It's just kind of one of those things that I'm like, all right, well, I didn't draw a basic, so. That kind of stinks, but at the end of the day, it's not like I really had, a ton of plays with my other hand either. So here, I'm just going to attach an energy, and then I'm going to get in for some early damage. No Giovanni again, because there's no fighting weakness on Pidgey, so if I Giovanni here, it's not like it does anything. It's not like it, one-shots it or anything like that. It doesn't, the only argument you can make is, hey, MBB, if you Giovanni here, it could put that Pidgey in 2-turn KO range, right? Because he deals 30 and 30 if you draw another Giovanni. But I just don't think that that's optimal usage. And looking at this deck, it looks like it's going to be an interesting deck. Potentially Pigeot and Dragonite. So, that's pretty interesting. Draw Pot of Greed makes me draw 2 cards. Get a Pokeball here, so I'm going to Pokeball. Hopefully I hit Diglett. I don't. I hit another Mankey. So I'm just Mankey.deck right now. So I'm going to put the energy on the other Mankey, and you'll notice again, this is highlighting energy usage and energy optimization. If I put that energy on the Mankey in my active spot and it gets KO'd, that puts me it puts me 2 energy behind, right? And it also makes it to where now that I have my energy spread out, if I draw a Primeape, I can attack with either Mankey that I evolve, which is huge because now my opponent doesn't have an advantage by, using something like a Sabrina. All right, so good. I got 30 damage on my Mankey. So now if I draw Primeape, I'm sitting pretty good. Right here, it's a little bit of an interesting point, right? I don't have Primeape. I don't have draw power. I'm already got 30 damage on my Primeape, so, it could get KO'd next turn. However, if I put Potion right here, it can take me out of that KO range. The only thing that would KO me is Giovanni and, attacking with their Dratini. So, right now, putting it at 50 HP, that's why I use the Sabrina, right? It puts me in a pretty good spot. So hopefully if I draw Primeape my next turn, I'm able to KO even a Dragonair if it comes out. Now, if they retreat and evolve to Pidgeotto, it could be a little bit hairy. But again, it's just one of those things where I'm trying to put myself in a position that, allows me to potentially win the game. Now, what I don't see coming here, right, and I kind of mentioned it, is, hey, if they Giovanni and attack with Dratini, I could be in a bad spot. And turns out they had the Giovanni, and it looks like I'm going to get, KO'd here. So things aren't looking so good, right? They're up 1 prize already. I'm sending in my Mankey. I have no Primeape. So, I'm just to be real honest, I'm pretty behind right here. So looks like I'm going to draw a Sabrina here. I mean, I'm just going to attach a 3rd energy just because, I'm like, come on, man, this is no good. But hey, maybe I'll have to retreat, and that 3rd energy will play a factor. But I'm better off attaching it than not. It's not like I'm going to see a Jinx or an Alakazam that has Psychic Attack. So right here, I'm just trying to survive 1 more turn, hopefully, and draw into a Primeape. Even drawing into a Diglett, at least extends the game a little bit, hopefully. But things are not looking good. I mean, my opponent is they're getting more of a setup. Now they've got free retreat, right? So, the situation is not looking good. What is this? Kangaskhan. So, hey, they could even win the game right here with 2 heads. And, honestly, things are not looking so good this game. But lo and behold, the coin flip RNGs come in here. I only take 30, which is good because now my Primeape one-shots this if I can draw it. Okay, Professor's research. So the best draws would be Primeape and a Diglett. So here we go. We're going to draw. Looks like we get a Pokeball. Looks like we get a Doug Trio. So, not good. I mean, this not good at all, right? But I finally got Diglett, so now I'm going to be able to extend the game a little bit, at least, a little bit longer. I'm going to retreat, get out of there, put my Diglett in, send Diglett, deal 40 damage, and hopefully live to fight another day. I'm going to need to escape another coin flip, right? If I can escape a coin flip, I can drop my Dugtrio. Maybe I can go ahead and hang around in this game a little bit longer. But this is a very sticky situation. You can tell my opponent hasn't drawn Dragonite, which is kind of a big deal, because if they drew Dragonite, I would probably just be dead, right? Like almost automatically, unless Dragonite hit the same Pokemon like 4 times. So there's a heads and there's a tails. Okay, so we're alive. Things are like, okay, maybe we can hang around this game a little bit longer. Maybe we can extend this. Okay, we drew Primeape. All right, so we're in business here. So because Dugtrio's attacks are so cheap, I can evolve, right? I can retreat, and I can KO. I can get a KO here. So I'm going to attach to Primeape. And looks like I'm going to dig, get that KO here without retreating. So I'm just going to go ahead and dig. Now, here we go. Can we get a heads? Can we get a heads? One time. Get us some heads, baby. One time. Oh my. Okay, never lucky. So, tails there. And again, man, like if you get lucky and start hitting some heads with these Dugtrios, you can do a lot of damage, especially if your opponent's not finding their Sabrinas. Okay, so here comes Wigglytuff, which kind of a problem, right? Wigglytuff's kind of thick. However, they're not able to attack with it. So that's kind of nice, right? They can't attack with it right away. So, it kind of makes you wonder, could they have done a better play, maybe putting in, different Pokemon? I don't know. That's kind of, that's a whole nother thing, right? Looks like I drew a Diglett for a turn here. So, right now I could play that Diglett. But again, you do have to be mindful of Pigeot now. Because Pigeot is pretty good. And, Pigeot has that ability that can really mess with your opponent. If you don't know what Pigeot does, I would go ahead and pull it up. But I have no window for that. But I can tell you what it does. So, Pigeot EX, once during your turn. Oh wait, that's the wrong Pigeot. Well, just kind of talking through this while I pull this up. Let me go to Cerebi. I guess now I know next time to have these cards ready just in case. Alright, so we should be able to find them now. Okay. Pokemon Pocket. So they went ahead and, if you did notice, they got. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So once during your turn, you may switch out your opponent's active Pokemon to the bench. Okay, your opponent chooses the new active Pokemon. So that's what they did. But again, I was able to kind of finish the job there and kind of bring home the victory, as you saw, with some surviving and some swapping. So yeah, I mean, so far you're kind of seeing how the deck works. And again, like, I haven't really run into these top tier EX Pokemon yet. I kind of saved those towards the end, so that way you could kind of see that as well. You might see a couple of them, towards the end, but for sure. But you might see them here in a few games too. So here we go, opening up with Mankey, which obviously, again, you prefer that, and then you got a little Diglett on the bench. Sabrina, Pot of Greed, and Potion in the hand, and opponents loading it up. Okay, so I think this is a great example of how, because I'm starting to remember this game. I think this is a great example of how, by the way, I don't know if I said Pigeot EX last game. It's just regular Pigeot. So anyways, I think this is a great example of how opponents will start playing around this deck. I think that, if you know what Primeape does, I think a lot of the time you don't want to deal early damage to it. So they got turn 1 Misty, which is a little scary, right? But they flip Tails, and that pretty much ends their turn. On my turn, so I drew Primeape. So this is a lot different, right? Last game, it was really grindy. I had to get had to scratch and claw my way back to win this game, or win that game. With this game, looks like I'm going to be able to deal 20 damage right away. I've already got the Primeape in my hand. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, please attack, please attack, please attack, please attack. Like, come on, attack me, attack me. But honestly, if my opponent was playing optimal, I don't think that they would attack here. I think that they would start building up one of their other Pokemon and not putting energy on the Psyduck, assuming that they play, the switch card that allows the retreat to go down by 1 cost. But my opponent's going to think here for a little bit, and eventually, they're going to go ahead and, activate my trap card, right? So I'm Seto Kaiba Incarnate right here, and Yu-Gi-Moto right here, waiting for them to activate my trap card. And eventually, like I said, after some debate, I guess, internally for them, or maybe their connection was slow, they're going to go ahead, attach that energy, and they're going to attack for 10. Now, Headache does cut me off from supporters, but, honestly, I don't care because I'm about to one-shot you, and now I'm going to be able to one-shot every Pokemon that you have out unless you evolve. Like, you're going to need to evolve, and by the time you evolve and have energy on that Pokemon, I might be ahead by 2 prizes already. So, again, right now, opponent's in bad shape. They're going to send in Staryu. But again, even if they evolve to Starmie EX, I mean, I've got Giovanni and Sabrina here. So, I'm going to be able to pretty much, deal with whatever they play. If they evolve to Gyarados, so I'm going to be able to 2-shot it after Sabrina. So, again, they end up conceding. So, a pretty quick game there. But, this just kind of highlights, one of the big things that I think people are going to start doing is, again, which is not attacking Mankey, which is kind of a good and bad thing, right? It's good because, you have more time to set up. It's bad because, well, now you're not dealing that 100 damage right away, right? So, could be an interesting path for how this deck gets responded to by, other people that come across it. So this game, I'm going second. I start off with Diglett, which I have 2 Primeape in hand, so I'm like, oh man, if this was Mankey, this would be so much better. But I've got a switch card, and I've also got a Giovanni, so that could potentially come up. Opponent's going to open up with Cubone, and what is that, like a Porygon on the bench? Yeah, I think it's a Porygon. Using alt arts, and my window is so small I can't really, I'm freaking blind, all right? Oh, yeah, it's a Porygon. All right, sweet. Glad I went over that. Glad I highlighted it. All right, good. So, again, opponent can't attach an energy, so they're just going to Pokeball, find some basic, might drop a supporter here, waiting for opponent. This gives me time to say, for being a toilet game, quote-unquote, there can be some times where games do take a little bit longer, especially depending on what pool you're playing in. Like, if you're playing in the beginner's pool, it might take a little bit longer. I tried the deck out in the beginner pool for a couple of games just to kind of see how it felt before I, went head first into the more experienced players. So 2 Cubones, a wasted Giovanni, so you can tell opponent is probably new to the game. And at some point, so, this game, honestly, I probably could have left it out, if I'm being honest. But again, this is just me trying to show you how the deck works and how it operates, just in case you need ideas for, hey, what should I be looking for turn 1? What should I be looking for in the mid or late game? And also, this kind of gives you the opportunity to see me play the decks that I'm actually talking about instead of just making deck profiles. I do want to stream live stream playing these games. So I've got my Twitch up there, and obviously if you know, I assume you're watching this on YouTube, so you can also subscribe to see when I go live. I try to go live on both platforms at the same time, so that way, you know, just trying to get the content out there. By the way, just want to say thank you guys for watching this content. Looks like my opponent has a deck that's all over the place. Now they're playing Marowak EX, which is got dark energies. I don't know what's going on here. So, you know, the way this game is looking, I mean, I shouldn't have really any problem winning this game. You know, unless the game just goes completely bad. So Pokeball, it's a 1 in 3 chance to hit the Diglett. Unfortunately, I hit the Diglett. You know, obviously would have preferred hitting a Mankey. And again, you'll notice here I'm starting to get my Diglett ready to go since I have nothing else to attach energy to really in my active. So now we're just chopping that tree down, and I flipped a heads. So now, even theoretically, even if my opponent had a fighting energy and then they attached another fighting energy, that Marowak would not be able to do damage to my Doug trio. Now, obviously, if I was playing somebody who had the right energy, I would be in big trouble here because, again, if you remember at the beginning of this video, I said 70 HP is a problem. And basically, both of my Pokemon can get one shot by Marowak EX. Even, you know, but it is a coin flip. They would have to flip 2 heads to KO Primeape, but only 1 head is needed for a Doug trio. So, you know, that's one of the, like I said, that's one of the big weaknesses of this deck is Doug trio is just not very thick, right? And again, like, you know, I don't even have 100 HP on my Pokemon. And you know, another thing you'll notice too, especially you can kind of see it in this game already, but I'm just not dealing a lot of damage, right? Like, I need weaknesses, I need damage buffs, right? With Giovanni, I need, you know, Primeape to have damage on it. And right now, there's no like way to put damage on your own Pokemon, you know, with like energy cards or with trainer cards, which is something that could potentially make this deck better, right? If I could put damage on my Primeape and automatically have it dealing 100 on, you know, by the time my turn 3 rolls around, if I'm going second, that's huge, right? So just kind of, this may not be a deck that is super, super competitive at the top levels, but if they add a big fighting type Pokemon, you know, that's a basic, and if they add a way to go ahead and put damage counters on your own Pokemon, this deck could be a sleeper pick, right? It could be a sleeper pick, especially if we see electric, you know, / lightning energy Pokemon, right, really climb to the top and really solidify their way in the meta. Like, man, this could definitely be a sleeper. So again, you know, you may not want to build this deck and play it if you have access to a bunch of EX Pokemon, or you know something like that. But for people that have, you know, these cards laying around, you know, maybe they want to try out something different, I would definitely try this deck out, especially because, you know, it's pretty easy to get a hold of. I tried to highlight in the beginning of the video the packs that you could get. If you're not used to seeing my videos, again, yellow means it was in the Pikachu pack, red means it was in the Charizard pack, and purple means it was in the Mewtwo pack. So, for the most part, I think this deck. Let me double check before I go too far. And yeah, this is going to be the Doug trio, and Diglett's are going to be in the Pikachu, and then I didn't edit out the the Voltorb, so there's no Voltorb, it's Potion. And then the Primeape and Mankey are going to be in the Charizard pack. So, yeah, just some first video corrections that I'll need to make for, you know, the next time I do content like this. But as the game has progressed, you guys can kind of see right now, you know, oops, it's because I clicked off. It's because I clicked off quick play. So there we go, speeding the game back up. So I've got Primeape going on the bench. I've knocked out one of their Pokemon. So, you know, this game is, you know, just about over. I mean, there's pretty much, you know, it's going to be very hard for my opponent to win this game. So just going to keep digging away. I've pretty much got everything I need to set it up and win this game. We got a little bit of a coin flip. I flip a tails as always. Okay. Like, dude, I think I think I flipped maybe like 2 heads this entire video of games. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I think that's 1 head so far. I don't know. All the games kind of run together. But anyways, so finishing out this game, and again, in the description too, you'll be able to skip forward to some of the games. I'll try to put the matchups in the timestamps, so that way you can kind of check that out as well. But opponent sends in a Porygon, and I mean, that Porygon is, you know, it's toast, right? I mean, it's got no shot. And again, like, this is one of those games where I was in the beginner pool just trying to see how the deck felt. And again, I was pretty after these 2 test games, I was ready to go ahead and take it to the big leagues, quote unquote. But here we go, just thinning the deck. I got my other main key, so now I've got all the basics. I've got my deck's pretty much going. The only thing I'm missing is that other Doug Trio, and I think it might be in my hand. I don't know. I can't see all those cards, but yeah, Dig is gonna knock this out. And you know, flipping a coin here. Okay, we flipped a heads. That's 2 heads. Here we go. There we go. All right, so this is really important right here. So even though my opponent's going to put in a new Pokemon, I'm still invulnerable. So it can't be damaged. Can't have effects put on it. They would have to Sabrina the Doug Trio out of the active. So I'm pretty much untouchable here. And then the win condition right now is if my opponent doesn't play another Pokemon, I'm just going to Sabrina out the Marowak, and you know, this game will be over. And it's going to take them too many turns to set up that Cloyster anyways, right? I think that's a Cloyster. Again, I'm blind, man. I can barely see. And then they put a dark Pokemon on the bench, so I guess that's where the dark energy come from. But again, I mean, Sabrina here just, you know, pretty much seals the deal. There's pretty much no way they can win with the current Pokemon that they have out there. So I'm just waiting for them to end their turn. Oh, they drop a Bulbasaur, so that could extend the game just a little bit. And again, this game is taking way too long for the inevitable. But I mean, hey, what are you going to do? Sometimes games are going to be like this. At least they're learning the game, and you know, hey, maybe you know, having a little bit of a learning experience on how to build a deck. Because again, one of the things that you probably don't want to do in this game is have 3 energy types. Like, you can get away with playing, like I saw a deck that was like Dragonite, and it was playing Coughing and Wheezing. So electric, water, and dark. But they're not playing any dark energy. They're just playing the Wheezing for the poison, and then they try to pick it up with Koga. So, you know, that's pretty cool. But anyway, so I Sabrina, and they decided to give me the freebie. You know, they're giving me the freebie here, so this game is over, thank goodness. And I flip heads, pointless heads. So I just wasted 3 heads, man. I just wasted that. Like, dude, you're going to see other games where I'm just going to be the most unlucky person in the world and not flipping any heads that could have won me the game. And in this game, that I don't even need them, I'm freaking rolling heads, man. Just, ugh. Terrible. All right. Let's get to a better game here. Let's get to a better game. All right, here we go. So I lose the coin flip, going second. Start off with Diglett. Pokeball in my hand. I think that's a Doug Trio in my hand. I think. I'm kind of blind, man. I'm telling you. I'm going to have to fix these windows so I can see, see this a little bit better. All right, so opponent's got a ton of Pokemon. Oh, no. Okay, here we go. We got, oh, my. Okay. We got a big deck here. Okay, here we go. So, obviously, you can tell my opponent looks like they've got a pretty legitimate deck here. However, I do have that fighting weakness. So we'll see if that plays. Oh my god, dude. Double Pikachu EX. Dealing 90 damage a turn. Yeah. I'm going to need to get lucky. Okay. Like, I'm going to need to have my deck play like 100% optimal, basically. All right, so we're going to get some early damage. Now, the good thing about this is I know that they can attack this turn with this Pikachu. So they're going to potion, go back to 100 HP, which again is 100% fine by me. I'm going to draw a potion. I'm somewhat of a potion man myself, you know. So we're going to evolve here. We're going to attach to Mankey, so that way my Primeape is ready to go next turn if I draw it, okay? So we're going to dig, get them down to 40. Come on, heads, 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 heads. Oh, come on. So Dugtrio's dead here, right? But if I would have flipped heads, my opponent would have needed Sabrina. I would have sent in the Mankey with no energy, and then I would have immediately KO'd their Pikachu immediately. But not all is lost. It's 1-0 in my opponent's favor. However, I'm going to be able to knock out this Pikachu, right? And after I knock it out, they have no more energy left on the board. So technically, I am 2 energy ahead in this game. I'm 2 energy ahead in this game. And again, one of the big points of that people are going to realize is you don't want to deal damage to Mankey. You want to one-shot it. So my opponent sends in one of their basics. It evolves into like Heliopolis or something like that. Okay, that's a Yu-Gi-Oh! Wrong game, whatever. It's Heliopta something, okay? All I know is it's an electric stage 1, so they evolve. They can retreat, but they can't attack. So again, me being ahead by 2 energies is huge, okay? And again, I'm ahead by 2 energy, and I'm ahead, all I need is 1 more knockout. Okay, so that's huge. Okay, so we drew a research. So let's research here. Let's see if we can find Primeape. Okay, Giovanni and Sabrina. So no luck. So I'm going to attach the energy to the one on my bench. Yes, it should be my bench. Yeah. Yeah, so I put it on my bench. So that way I have both Pokemon ready to attack next turn. If they don't KO my Mankey in the active, I can still slap a Primeape down and still attack. If they do attack and knock out my Mankey in the active, well, my Primeape will be ready to go if I draw it by evolving the one on my bench. So I'm in a really good spot here, even if they KO, even if they flip a heads. So they flip a tails. It's only going to deal 40 damage, which is perfect because now my Primeape one-shots. It's good to go. Even if I didn't draw the Primeape, Giovanni gets the job done on its own because of that fighting weakness. But here we go. Here's a way that you can beat a top tier meta deck. I can potion right here. I think they conceded. I can potion right there because it only goes up to 70, not 90, right? So again, gotta win against a top tier, top meta deck with the weakness involved. Did the weakness play a role? I mean, kinda, right? Kinda, you can kind of say. But again, I would probably overkill some of it anyways with Giovanni. So here we go. Next match, I flip the coin, going first. I start off, got 1 basic Pokemon by the look of things, and 2 Pokeballs. So I'll be able to thin my deck of all but 1 basic. All right. So, execute. So if you remember the beginning of this video, I mentioned that it could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, that you have 2 different weaknesses with this deck. So Mankey is weak to Psychic. Dugtrio will be weak to Grass. So right here, you're going to notice the way that I sequence my turn, I thin my deck of basics to draw my supporters and my stage 1s. Really important to know there. Okay, sometimes in certain occasions you may want to flip that order depending on the deck that you're playing. If you're playing Pikachu, thinning your deck to get more basics to make sure that you can deal 90 damage is kind of a big deal sometimes. Okay. All right. So since I went first, I couldn't attach an energy, but I've got my setup going. I've got my Mankey in the active. So, things are looking okay. If they deal damage to my Mankey, I'm going to be able to immediately KO them if I draw Primeape. So again, right here, the optimal move for my opponent should be not to attack, in my opinion. I don't think that they should deal damage. I think by dealing damage, it kind of puts them in a weird spot. But again, they activated my trap card. They activated my trap card, and I got Primeape. Now, this is not good because Unfortunately, it's 2 energy attack, so I can't attack, right? So I'm in a little bit of a risk here, right? The reason why I'm at risk here is if they evolve, it could be a coin flip attack, depending on if it's Exeggutor or Exeggutor EX, and it could be a KO. So I could be down 2 energy. Okay, so it's Exeggutor EX. So I'm in bad shape right here. I'm in bad shape. And they red card me, which, okay, that's kind of fine. Doesn't really matter too much because I know that I'm going to have energy. And now they gave me a professor's research. So that red card, you know, it looks good on paper because they just got a +1. But really, it didn't impact the game at all, right? It's just kind of like, all right. Oh, okay, so I'm alive here. So 160. Let's get this professor's research down. I know that I'm going to attach an energy to Primeape, but we'll do that here in a moment. Let's draw first, okay? So I drew another Mankey. I drew a potion. Now, quick maths, all right? If I potion and they flip tails, I can steal this game, right? I can steal, well, I can't steal the game, but I can steal this knockout, right? I can steal this knockout, and they will need another Exeggutor or something on the bench that they're building up. So I heal to get out of. If I can avoid the coin flip, I can survive. And again, if I draw a Doug Trio, I'm still going to be able to have a coin flip when I use Dig to survive. Okay, so they potion, which really doesn't matter because again, if they flip tails, I'm going to be able to immediately KO them. So here we go. Here's the coin flip. It's a tails. We're alive. We're alive. Let's go. And guys, this is so huge because if it was weak to grass, I would have just been dead, right? All right, so here we go. So now I can build up my other Primeape in advance. I attach to the Mankey because my Primeape is going to need 2 energy, right? So if I attach to Mankey, any 3 of my bench Pokemon can attack next turn if I draw the stage 1. If I draw Doug Trio, the Doug Trio can attack. If I draw Primeape, Primeape can attack. So I'm in really good shape here, even though, again, they're going to probably be able to knock out my Primeape here. It's going to kind of set me back if I don't draw one of my stage 1s. But I'm ahead in prizes. Even if they knock out my Primeape, I'm still ahead in prizes. So again, you know, I'm in pretty good shape here. Hopefully, you know, I can steal this game, even though my opponent, you know, is playing EXs that have they're thick, man. I mean, they're thick. There's no other way to get around it. They're thick. Okay. However, I do have a win condition. If I can go ahead and draw my stage 1s. So, you know, all is not lost. I draw a Doug Trio, and I do have a switch. So right here, I'm going to go ahead and retreat into my fancy smancy Diglett full art. I'm going to Giovanni thinking that I have game. But again, Pidgeotto, and Pidgey are weak to electric. Come on, you noob, MBB. What are you doing, bro? See, I thought this was game. I thought it was game. I was like, heck yeah, this is game. But it's not. And of course, everybody's flipping tails this game. So I've got Sabrina's in my hand, so I'll be able to Sabrina in consecutive turns if I need to. They're going to need to evolve and play a bench Pokemon. And that bench Pokemon is going to need to, you know, be a little thick, right? So right now the game is still up in the air. I still very much could lose this game. And you know, nothing is automatic until the game is over. They send in Kangaskhan, coin flip card, right? Flip a head, flip a coin. Depending on the amount of heads, it deals a certain amount of damage, if I remember correctly. Deals 0 damage. So, you know, kind of an unfortunate coin flip for them. Now I draw Primeape, huge. So now I'm going to attach to Primeape, have my Primeape ready to go. There's pretty much, you know, I just got to chip away. So I decided to Sabrina here, and put them in a little bit of a weird spot. And you know, the worst case scenario is I don't flip heads, which I do flip the heads, but the worst case scenario is they evolve into Exeggutor EX or the other Exeggutor, and I'm weak to grass and they can immediately, you know, one-shot me. So that was the one bad thing that could happen. But I flipped a heads, which is huge. So now they would have to Sabrina. But again, so there's the evolution. There's the Sabrina. Okay, so I'm going to send in my Primeape here 100% because, they can't one-shot my Primeape. So here we go. Yeah, they're hellbent. They're playing Infinity mode, right? For my Yu-Gi-Oh! And MTG crowd. They have no hand. No hands. Waka Flocka. Y'all remember that song that was played like everywhere? No hands. Anyway, so they deal damage to my Primeape, which I'm happy with because now I can Sabrina and just KO immediately. So I just kind of show that I had the switch, but the Sabrina here puts me at a 100% win no matter what, and that will be game. So played a little bit of foresight there, forcing them to put out and have the Exeggutor, because if not, I was going to be in pretty good shape no matter what. They pretty much had the best cards that they could have to survive, and I just happened to, plan ahead and have the right active, have the right coin flip, and so on. So, things kind of worked out there in my favor, and we got the dub. So, knocked one down. So, I think there's about 2 more games left. I think there's 2 more games left in here. And now I'm going to show you ways that this deck can lose. I don't want to just, put out clickbait and have this shocked face video. Thumbnail and then make everybody craft the card to this deck and then say, MBB, this deck sucks. I don't want to play it. So here's some games. Well, I'm just going to warn you, I'm not going to win them. I'm not going to win them. Okay. And it'll highlight some of the weaknesses that I've talked about so far too. So right here, immediately noticing I'm going up against a tiered deck, right? This is going to be, a better deck, an actual meta deck, right? So, and by the way, I mean, most of the other decks are meta except for, the new person and so on. There's a couple of meta decks here. So here we go. So starting off with Pot of Greed, drawing 2 cards because I'm trying to find some powerful cards. Double Mankey. So, I'm like, hey, this is not too bad. I'm going to get in for 20 damage here. I've got some other supporters. I've got a switch card. So I've got some active cards here. The thing I am worried about is that Moltres, right? If they switch out, put in that Moltres and flip some heads, I'm in bad shape, right? Like that's just the nature of Moltres. Moltres is really good. Moltres is just really good. I mean, it's, when you can do things that break the rules of the game, that usually means you're a pretty good deck, right? One of the rules of Pokemon is you can only attach 1 energy per turn, right? So they evolve. They've got an Arcanine on the bench. So I'm like, oh, crap. Well, at least, it takes a lot of energy to attack. They're going to need to flip some heads on this Moltres, right? So here's the Moltres. And again, it's not dealing any damage. So that's another thing that's really good for them. The fact that it's not dealing any damage to set up my Primeape. And of course, they flip ahead. So 1 in 3. I mean, that's, on the lower end for them, right? So basically, they can get that Arcanite rolling pretty quickly. My deck is kind of stalling, right? Like, I don't really have... I can't start doing 40 damage with Primeape even. I have no Diglett. And by the way, Diglett evolving into Dugtrio would not stop them attaching energy. Okay, Dugtrio would not stop them because it's not an effect that's affecting my Pokemon. It's just an effect that is ramping them, right? It's not doing anything to my Pokemon. So, Pokeball, got my Dugtrio in my hand. You'll notice again, I'm spreading out my energy. So now any 3 of my Pokemon can attack next turn if I evolve any of them, right? So again, this is just good fundamental Pokemon, right? Just trying to teach you another optimal way to play. There's no point in loading up 2 energy on that Mankey and then letting it get knocked out. And then I'm behind, 2 energy instead of 1. All right, it was at this point of the game where I kind of knew that, okay, if they flip heads, I'm probably gonna lose this game, right? Like if they flip, more than one heads, or one head, I'm probably losing, right? Because now that Arcanine can come in and knock out any of my stage 1 Pokemon, even if I evolve, they can knock them out. Because again, Dugtrio, 70 HP, Primeape, 90 HP. So I'm in a very bad spot. I mean, there's just no getting around it. Sure, I can evolve, my Diglett into a Dugtrio and then just hope that I start flipping a bunch of heads. That's probably the best case scenario, right? Just playing to my outs. But even if I do that, all they have to do is Sabrina if I flip a heads, right? So in theory, they should just legitimately not Sabrina until I flip a heads with my Dugtrio, right? And right now, I'm just trying to, chip damage, because I know that, this game is, I mean, it's just, I'm in bad shape. I mean, there's no getting around it. I mean, this is why Moltres EX is good. This is why, Arcanine. Yeah, I don't know that I would play Arcanine just because I'm not sold on the fact that it damages itself as well and puts it, closer to one-shot range. But again, it's a good secondary attacker, right? You got your primary attacker, which is probably Charizard EX in that deck, and then you've got secondary attackers. And I kind of like it when my secondary attackers are not EX Pokemon sometimes, and I like it when they're basics sometimes too. So, but right here, please give me heads. Okay, I got a heads, baby. I got a heads. Maybe we can claw back. Just don't have Sabrina. Come on. Come on, don't have Sabrina one time. Maybe we can survive. Maybe we can survive. But honestly, it might not happen. Spoiler, it doesn't. So my opponent takes some time to consider all of their options with 4 cards in hand and a Pokemon that's one-shotting everything that I have out here on the board. They eventually attach an energy, and they're still thinking. Oh, took that long to play a Sabrina. Okay. Well played, opponent. Well played. So there it is. I mean, this game is, for all intents, this game is over. But again, I'm just going to play it out just because, hey, what if I flip a bunch of heads, right? So I draw another Primeape. Again, at this point, doesn't matter. I just start attaching energy. Dig. All right, hey, maybe I flip a heads. Okay, nope. So I think I flipped 4 heads. 4 or 5, and 3 of them were in a match that it literally didn't matter. Literally did not matter at all. All right, so losing to a deck that ramped out energy, that was dealing 100 damage, 120 damage per turn, highlighting the fact that my Pokemon are not very thick. And I mean, there's just not much you can do against that, right? You just kind of shake your opponent's hand, you say thanks, you send them a friend request, and you move on to the next game. So here we go. Last game. Just a reminder, I will be live streaming this game as well, or these games. So make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. If you're a Twitch person, hit me up on Twitch, man. I need to get those numbers up on Twitch. I'm trying. All right, so I'm gonna start off. Oh baby, that's a Zapdos. Is this the Zapdos, the infamous Zapdos deck that people have been talking about? Is it? We'll see. All right, here we go. So, I don't think that there's literally anything I can do this turn. All right. I'm like, please attack me. Please activate my trap card. They Pot of Greed first turn after attaching an energy. You know. Okay, this is not good. This is one of the better decks, right? This is one of those electric decks. So here we go. They're loading up their bench. Right now, I'm kind of already like, oh well, I think I lose. I think this is card for card one of the decks that I previewed in my other video. If you haven't seen that yet, where I talk about 5 different decks that are more meta decks with EX Pokemon. But yeah, I mean, this is. Electric is really good. I mean, there's just no other way to put it. Electric is just really good. So I'm going to evolve. It's going to cut me off from attacking, which is kind of bad, right? And there's nothing I can do. I have to end my turn, right? And I know that I'm behind just because the power level of my cards versus their cards. I know I'm immediately behind. I didn't get to... I went first, so I didn't get to start doing damage early. And evolving doesn't really matter to that electric deck. Like, would they like to evolve to Magneton and Electrode? Sure. But I mean, like, it doesn't matter. They can go first or second with their deck, right? Like, that's probably one of the other big advantages of Pikachu EX deck. You can go first or second and not really feel that big of a difference. Like, it might pop up in some matchups, but for the most part, it's not a deck that it's like, oh no, I'm immediately behind because I went first or I went second, you know? But with my deck in this matchup, going first and having the start I did kind of set me behind. So they actually did deal damage to me, which activated my trap card, allowed my Primeape to start doing some damage. So I'm thinking, okay, I can do some damage here, but they did have the switch. You know, that makes their retreat free, which means their Pikachu can attach an energy. And their Pikachu can one-shot me here. And basically now my only hope is drawing Dugtrio and flipping nothing but heads for pretty much the rest of the game, right? I mean, right now it's just I'm in a bad spot. I'm behind in energy. I'm behind in tempo. I'm behind in prizes. I drew a Diglett. You know, this game is over. But, you know, there's just I have to play a basic, right? Because if I flip a heads, or if I flip a tails and they KO me, I just lose on the spot, right? So I flip a tails, as is tradition. They're going to immediately be able to KO my Dugtrio here. And, I mean, it's pretty much going to put the game out of reach. I mean, this just, again, and they're already, even if I was to have gotten through that Pikachu, they're already loading up a Magneton. They could have Lieutenant Surge. I highly recommend one Lieutenant Surge in that deck now, which is a change from the video that I put up. But I highly recommend one Lieutenant Surge. I don't recommend two, but one. I think a one of Lieutenant Surge is really good in that Pikachu EX deck. So now, I mean, I'm pretty much just dead no matter what. Best case, I draw a Dugtrio and I stall. I draw a Primeape instead. So, you know, this game is over. But again, I just went up against two really strong decks that did what they're supposed to do, right? Like, they did what they were supposed to do. My deck kinda did, kinda didn't, you know, kinda had something to do with going first / second, you know, and that's just going to be the case. Like, if you're playing a budget deck, you really can't expect to just like beat top tier meta decks like all the time, right? You just want to get it as close to 50-50 as possible and just say, hey, I can beat other stuff, you know, I can beat the other stuff when it's a meta deck or a top tier meta deck, you know, it's a coin flip. So that wraps up this video. Thank you for watching, and definitely check out more of my content, and I'll see you around soon. Peace.